All right, in this video, we're going to be looking at negative fractions and mixed numbers and how to add and subtract them. Before we start, we're just going to quickly review something we've already talked about, which when I look at these three fractions, is there a difference? And if you recall from our past discussion that no, there isn't. They all have one negative sign. The one on the left, the negative sign is with the numerator. The middle one, the negative sign is with the denominator. And the one on the right, the negative sign is just in front of the fraction. But they all mean the same thing. They all mean that the fraction 2/3 happens to be negative. And again, that's partly because that bar in a fraction means division. So -2 divided by 3 is the same answer as +2 divided by -3 is the same answer as the opposite of 2/3. And then at the bottom here, what does -2 over -3 mean? So remember, that just means a negative divided by a negative, remember, means positive. So be very careful. So often people think this one might mean that both the top and the bottom are negative, but it just means that it means the opposite of 2/3. And then here, quickly review, when we have a negative mixed number, what do? We take our bigger number and we multiply it by the bottom number, and then we add the top. Now be careful, because again, this just means the opposite. The negative in front means the opposite of 2 and 2/3. So when I do it, I want to think of it as just 2 times 3 plus my top number, which is 2, and then it happens to be negative. So I would say, okay, well, 2 times 3 is 6. 6 plus 2 is 8. So that's 8/3. And then it just happens to be -8/3. Be careful. It is not -2 times 3 plus 2. It is not, this would end up being -6 plus 2, -4. It is not -4 over 3. Okay, so be careful. This means the opposite of 2 and 2/3, because 2 and 2/3 is 8 over 3. The opposite would just be -8 over 3. So let's look at some examples. So first thing that we do when we add and subtract is we need a common denominator. It is often easier if there are negatives to put them with the numerator. It just makes it a lot easier when you're sort of adding and subtracting the integers on the top. This one, the negative already is in the numerator. So our common denominator is 8. Remember, whatever we do to the bottom, we do to the top. That one didn't change. This one we multiplied by 4. You don't have to show that. And now all we're really doing here is we're adding and subtracting integers. Our denominator stays the same, and then we're just thinking, what is -7 plus 4? And -7 plus 4 is -3. You can choose to put it on the top, or you can also just write it like that in front. Both are totally acceptable. Okay, this one, same thing. We get a common denominator, which in this case is 36. Whatever we do to the bottom, we do to the top. So that one we multiplied by 9. This one we multiplied by 4. And then we just subtract. And hey, this isn't really any different, is it? It's really just what we would always do. Now, let's say, for example, for argument's sake, there was a negative here. All that means is that the negative would be there. And then this answer, okay, would now become -27 minus 16, which will end up being -43 over 36. And then, of course, we would simplify if we could. So just be careful with where the negatives are. And then down here, again, actually, I'm going to throw a negative in front here, okay, just to show you that. So I'm going to turn the first one into improper fraction. So 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. But then I'm going to throw the negative in. 3 times 8, okay, 24, plus 3 is 27. Again, I'm going to throw that negative in. Then I'm going to get a common denominator. So whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. So I multiply by 2. So this one is now a lot like the one that I just kind of showed you over here. This is not 18 minus 27. This is -18 minus 27. So be really careful with that. And that one's going to be -45 over 8. And then if it can simplify, you do. This one doesn't, so you can leave it. If you want to turn it into a mixed, you can. But often it gets complicated and is not always worth it. In some contexts, having a mixed answer is useful. But if you're just kind of doing the computation, it doesn't really matter. Right, and then let's look at one more. So let's look at one where we're subtracting a negative. So again, first step, get a common denominator, which in this case is 20. Whatever you do to the bottom, you do to the top. Notice I've now taken that negative and I've moved it up to the top number. And then I do the same with this one. And then watch this. Remember, a negative, take away a negative, becomes a positive. So I'm just going to write it like that. I could write minus minus, but this is a little bit more accurate, a little bit easier. And then I'm just going to figure out my answer. What is negative 8 plus 15? In this case, it is 7. And then that is my final answer. So that is how I add and subtract fractions and mixed numbers.